Hello, everyone. I am Theodora Bobocea. I am the host of today's podcast that was brought to you by the SURGICON Congress. And I don't know how many of you know, but this Congress is actually organized by the Romanian Student Society of Surgery. It was a small project and it evolved a lot. And today's guest is actually one of the founding members of the society. More than that, he is also an associate professor at the University of Medicine and Pharmacy Carol Davila, Bucharest, and he is also a political figure. He is none other than Dragoș Nicolae Garofil. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm quite nervous, although you mentioned I'm a political figure. I managed quite well to not become a public figure, so I'm not very experienced with podcasting. But it's a pleasure and an honor to be here, to be a part of the future of the society, a very dear project of mine, of ours, from my student years, that has grown to immense heights, and I'm very, very proud of what we all achieved. So thank you.
Thank you as well. I'm actually eager to question you now. So, I think we're all really curious about how did it all start? How did you come with the idea? How was the process? How was everything at the beginning?
Well, it started with a group of friends. We were a couple of colleagues that were very keen on surgery. We did all our summer practice in the hospital, and we started to write and to do oral presentations at various congresses in Europe, in Cairo, in Berlin, in Krakow, and we actually made a team of 12, and we tried and failed to do a multicentric prospective study with 12 clinics in Bucharest, 12 surgery clinics in Bucharest. And with this occasion, we met Olivia Zgarbura. That was the actual founding member of the society, because the society was founded in 2004. But till 2005, didn't have any activity besides, I think, a health legislation course. And Olivia was already sixth year, and she wanted to study for the residency exam. So we met, we talked, and she proposed to our little group to take over the society and to organize whatever we want. From the beginning, this was meant to be a society for students and not like other societies that were annexed by former members, doctors, already doctors that still run the student societies, as was the case with the other two societies in Bucharest. So I became vice president for the start, and we began by organizing scientific sessions with oral presentations in a room no bigger than this. But the group grew to 30-something members, and this was we've done this for the whole duration of 2005, I think. Then we 2005, yes, and 6, and a part of 6. Then during the summer of 2006, I went to IRCAD in Strasbourg, and I saw the immense, extraordinary training center in Strasbourg on laparoscopy. And afterwards, in the summer, I done an observership program for a month in Chicago, and there also I saw a training a center for the residents in that hospital. Things that back then in Romania was unheard of. Even now, it's in very little places you can find such training facilities. But back then it was really unheard of. So when I returned in the autumn, I became president, and my first order of business was we should do basic surgical skills course, and the adventure began. When we announced this, a couple of more members arrived, younger than us. So this was 2006. So I was already sixth year medical school. So we had a group of about 30, and we sat down. We did research. We found a similar course, only one similar course for students done in England. That there was a participation fee of £1,000. So for us was quite unapproachable. We gathered materials. Me and two of my friends, Bogdan Nistor and Adrian Roșca, they were my vice presidents. We did the curricula, and we gathered films, pictures, and we did the PowerPoint presentations. And then we started to gather materials, because the society didn't have anything, not even a location. We didn't have a, how do you say, sedu?
A center or something.
Yeah, we didn't have our own place. So we went from door to door, every surgical clinic. We were very professional, because we made
Yes.
a proposal of 16 pages proposal, and I'm sure I can find it and send it to you to put in the museum.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please do.
So we went with this proposal with pictures and everything, with the curricula and every material that we needed, with a budget, very well drafted budget. And first we went to all the surgical clinics and asked for them to donate us instruments, surgical instruments, and everything they can spare. So we gathered quite a lot, and the most important things were broken laparoscopic instruments that we found. One professor, Professor Ulmanu, that was very passionate with repairing things, and he took all our broken instruments that we gathered from the various clinics and repaired them. So we had quite a complete laparoscopic set. Then others came and with other ideas, So we went to the private firms of medical instruments, and we received quite a few donations. And I think in January we had 20 complete sets of surgical instruments and all the necessary materials. Then we talked to our professors, the ones we knew, and they all were eager to help us. And I can mention Professor Victor Strâmbu, Dr. Belușică, Professor Marius Vlad. He was my anatomy professor, and he gave us the clinical anatomy room to organize the study, the course. And the first course was, I think, in March 2007. We were also the participants. That was the society back then, 20, and I think 5 more that were younger didn't participate at first. They stayed in organizing, but this was the society of 30 members. We were all participants in our own course, So it was a huge success. I mean, everything went perfectly. We went to a butcher facility in Perish. It's where we took everything from pig legs to pig intestines. As you know, all the materials. It was quite spectacular to see how they. I mean, those guys were real surgeons. How to take the intestines off. So this was done in March. Afterwards, things went quite smoothly. I mean, we've done some promotion clips. Every student in the Carol Davila University heard of us, and for the second and third course, we had lots of applicants. I think nearly 100, 150. So we've done 2 more courses. Then the summer came, but we said we should do a summer camp. So this was done in August, I think, in July or August. 4 weeks of every course was 1 week. So it was quite the first basic surgical skills were quite ambitious with the curricula. It had from knots to sutures to anastomosis, intestinal anastomosis, vascular sutures and anastomosis, also laparoscopic. I forgot. We also did handiwork. We crafted some devices for practicing knots. So we did that ourselves because we couldn't afford any simulators. There were some simulators for knots done by Ethicon, but for us back then it was impossible to have the money. We also done a simulator for laparoscopy that you lost some years ago, and I don't know if you have another one, but I can show you pictures of it. It was quite something with my own TV as a monitor with a camera on a tripod and with the instruments that Dr. Ulmanu repaired for us. It was tens of thousands of dollars
well spent.
worth of equipment. It was no, every activity was fun to do. It was a great emulation. Everyone wanted to participate, and knowing that we do this for ourselves was more and more engaging, you know. So it was quite a fun period. Then we organized the surgery summer camp. We made a partnership with Constanța, with the society from Constanța. It was Costel Dina, their president, and I'm from Constanța. We managed to gather more sponsors. Quite a big sponsor, I think, was a pharmaceutical company, and we put a participation fee that covered all the costs. So after the surgery summer camp, the society was on profit. You know, we could sustain all our courses through the year from the camp. So those 4 weeks were quite amazing. I mean, I was studying for the residency, but I was waiting for my colleagues to call me to have a problem. Any small problem was a mountain, you know, and I had to go to help them, you know, take me everything that took me away from study and keep my self-esteem was perfect. So I stayed with them through the whole 4 weeks. Then it was a mixture of work and fun, and great friendships were established there, and we remained quite close, many of us, from that time. So this was the beginning. You know, after the summer camp, we made. I mean, there were participants from all over the country. The biggest groups were from Constanța and Craiova. So they were eager to do a branch of our society in Constanța and Craiova, I think, or I may be mistaken, maybe Cluj also. And yes, during that autumn in 2007, I think we established 3 branches with paperwork, everything. We did. We modified the statute. We put there many. I've read now the statute, so it's pretty much the same. I mean, we wanted to be sure that the society will remain run by the students and
Yes.
not to be taken by some dictator. So we put many good principles there. We empowered students to stay as instructors. This was the idea from the beginning. Now there's a principle in surgery: see one, do one, teach one. It's not quite so. You see many, do many, and teach many. So, but this was very important, and it brought an engagement to the society. So everyone who participated was interested to stay for the future courses as an instructor, as part of his own training, you know. So we made a motto, you know, students for students. It was, I mean, we had quite a marketing campaign, and I think in a few months we had 300 members.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah,
It's actually a lot.
yeah. And in the autumn, I had to study. I took my residency exam, and in the next 2 months, I think I set everything in order with paperwork, and we did also a few more core basic surgical skills. I think we started also basic microsurgery skills and knots and sutures. So by January or February, when we organized the elections and I finished my mandate, we had 300 members and 3 different types of courses. So these 3, we also continued with the scientific sessions every month. So that wasn't uh, at all, you know, downsized. So we put on very high esteem these scientific sessions. Yeah.
But did you ever thought that this project will expand so much, like all over the country?
Well, at first, no. At first, I mean, it was like a plaything. We were a few friends, but after the surgery summer camp, we saw the that we provided a product, you know, like in business, that everyone needs. I mean, there's a real need for what the society uh, brought to the table. You know, these
Yes.
courses, these practical courses, is a real need for the medical students in Romania, and I think everywhere, but mostly in Romania, where it's not an emphasis on practical abilities, more on theoretical knowledge, you know. So you can go through medical school, unfortunately, without performing basic maneuvers, and this is a shame, because this brings future difficulties, you know, for the future surgical residents. uh, it's difficult at first to uh, learn the basic maneuvers. You know, you lose a few months
Yes.
till you are ready to perform these maneuvers. And for those who go on the medical side, there's a constant fear to perform the basic surgical maneuvers. I mean, there are family practitioners or other specialties that don't even want to, I don't know, suppress a suture, like basic, you
Yes.
know. So that's why we understood this, that it was a real need, and everyone was so excited, and we made it fun. I mean, we were quite party people, so we understood that this is another component that is very important to mix work with fun, and as the harder the work, you know, the greater the fun. I mean, it
Course.
was the I'm I'm if I find the pictures from back then, we made a photo reel with those pictures. I mean, they were sleeping, partying all night, and but at 7 o'clock there was, and we made the very strict rules. I mean, whoever doesn't arrive at 7 o'clock is excluded from the course. I mean,
Yes.
and this is military, as surgery really is, you know. So this military,
It's
its
scheduled, yes.
organization is like everywhere in the world, you know. It's not possible otherwise, you know. It's very strict hierarchy and rules in surgery, because every mistake is heavily priced.
Of course. Wow. This is wow. This is actually wow. I want to also share the fact that this is like a generation conversation, like different generations, but
Oh
some things
no,
no, no,
I know I'm still your
but
generation, okay?
some things
No, no,
still
no.
stay, and it's actually fun. This is amazing. This is so amazing.
Well,
Oh, I also wanted to ask you, like, did you know since forever that you wanted to be a surgeon, or it was something that was brought up
well, yes,
later?
since kindergarten, I think
Wow.
I was I always wanted to be a doctor, and of course, a surgeon was the most prestigious thing to
Yes.
be back then. Now, unfortunately, at the residency, general surgery is the last to be taken, and many how do you say places positions are not even occupied. I actually seen this in Chicago in 2006. General surgery and gynecology in the States were losing ground, and I think this will come too. I mean, already happening in Romania too, uh, because it's a very hard specialty. It's difficult, and it's prone to malpractice, both general surgery and gynecology. Uh, Unfortunately, young students want a good life, you know. So general surgery is becoming less and less attractive, you know. Um, but what was I saying? Where if I was wanted to be a surgeon, yeah. So yeah, from kindergarten, I think my dream was becoming a surgeon, with a small gap in high school when I was very good at math and informatics. But after a few fights with the informatic professor, I said, okay, no, I got back to medical school. So, uh, yeah, during my university years, every summer from July to October, I mean, I went to Constanța. There was a surgery clinic there without students. All the students, if I don't know, weren't so interested back then, but this clinic was lacking personnel, and they took me in. I mean, they called me from home. I entered the uh, operations as a second surgeon. So it was quite good for me, that place to study, to learn. And the residency was okay. I could pick everything, any specialty, but I chose general surgery.
That's actually nice. So you said that you did this every summer. So when you first um, operated as a surgeon? It was like you already prepared. How did you feel? What
Well,
was your
yeah,
first
I
experience
felt
as a surgeon?
quite prepared, but there's a gap between being a student and a resident, and unfortunately, so uh, I um, I felt this the hard way, but because imagine I was president of the Student Surgical Society, and I was representative in the University Senate and Council. I signed the protocol with Professor Irinel Popescu between our society and the Romanian Surgical Society. I mean, I was talking to Professor Popa, the rector. I was in high places, and when you enter first year resident, you are at the bottom, very bottom of the pyramid, and everything is wiped clean, everything you've done as a student. So it can be difficult, but I'm a pretty ground-headed person, so I realize that I have to climb from scratch, and to work as hard as I can, to learn from everyone, even from the nurses who know much more than you. So yeah, even though I had good contact with surgery during summer, I never managed the case. I mean, they called me, I entered, I did only the surgical part, which is the cherry on top
Yes.
for our profession. When you get to the operating room, this uh, is the perfect spot. But till then, that's a lot of job to do. And as a resident, you first have to do the groundworks. So yeah, I did the hours. I mean, first years, I think I lived in the hospital. I had 8 to 10 on calls
Wow.
per month. So it was, but it was intense, but a very, very good school. I was in the Saint Pantaleimon Hospital, emergency hospital. So it was a very, very good school.
So now that you come through all that, you said actually I said that you're an assistant professor at the university. So how it is like to move, to switch from the student position to the teacher, to the professor position?
Well, it came naturally, I think. Um, I kept in close contact with the society for the first few years. I mean, as a first year resident, I also organized as a partner for the society the trauma camp. So for the first few years, I went as an instructor to the courses. I I was close to the students since my first years of residency. So after I finished my PhD and became an assistant professor, I think my uh, uh, experience with being an instructor, a teacher, was quite there. Um, but I like it. I mean, it's very nice to be able to be a part of someone's career. So I try to do my best. Unfortunately, these past few years were very difficult, and you guys suffered a lot, and I feel for you. Hopefully you till you finish, you get to
Will
make up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay, we covered this whole surgery part, but let me ask you, what was the motivation, the reason behind you you wanted to go for the political matter? Because you were a Secretary of State in 2020, I think.
Yeah, I was a counselor of state at the government, counselor of the prime minister on health. And in March, they sent me out in the field of battle during the pandemic. They sent me as a Secretary of State at the Ministry of Health. Well, it's quite complicated, my evolution. I was a very, with broad interests person as from my young years. So I didn't say no to anything. I was involved with student representation. I mean, in high school also, I made a society of pupils, the Mircea College in Constanța. So I was involved in many things, also with Student Surgical Society, with the Youth Romanian Council. So, but when I entered the residency, I learned the word, to prioritize. This was life changing. So I began to say no to everything besides work and afterwards family. So for a few years, I concentrated only on my work at the hospital, on my PhD. And when I finally finished the residency, I took my specialty exam and finished my PhD and took the exam to becoming an assistant professor. I realized, wow, so much time now. uh, I was indeed lucky to follow Professor Strâmbu to the hospital I'm currently on, to Carol Davila, that isn't an emergency hospital. So we do only elective surgeries, so we have elective patients, very tidy schedule. We know when we finish, we know it's very different from emergency environment. So I found myself having free time, So uh, I participated to a course with Konrad Adenauer and a political excellency program, and I was quite combative there. I mean, I trashed with some parliamentary people.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I was, and I saw that I can do this. I mean, and I had some big discussions with other friends that were already involved in politics, and they made me understand that without stepping forward, without engaging, you can complain as much as you want. So in a democracy, you need parties. I had great prejudice against politics back then, but I found some very good willed people. I mean, I was very surprised by this. So little by little, I was drawn into this, but I kept my technical, aura. I mean, I didn't do politics. I was a technical person
Yes.
involved in politics. I mean, I speak only about health issues. don't know anything about highways. When it was up to the work, I was the first one to put the work. I wrote the party political program on health and two other manifests on health. So, and then I became a coordinator of the same program that I attended for a few years. So I had 20 participants for 5 years. So 100 young politicians were uh, uh, coordinated by me with these workshops, very, very good workshops with great speakers from abroad or from here, experts of many sorts. So this was also a very good training for me. I became quite uh, proficient, in health politics. So it was and a bit of, I don't know, luck, because I cannot say luck because I was during the pandemic. I wished for some better times, to be more constructive and not responsive, because it was only a responsive area to put the fires out, and it was difficult times. But I don't regret it, So I regret that for a year and a half I wasn't able to go to the hospital. I wasn't allowed as Secretary of State. So with the first chance, I stopped and returned to the hospital. And now I'm doing only uh, consultative job. I'm an honorary advisor to the Minister of Health and also to the Mayor of Bucharest, Nicolae. But as an honorary position, without being fully engaged. Yeah.
Wow,
Quite
that's
a long
broad.
story.
No, that's actually such a long, long journey and full of it. Like, I would actually like to ask you, what piece of advice would you give to the young surgery aspirants?
Wow. Well, I'm not sure I'm in the position of giving advices. I'm still young in my career. So, surgery is an apprenticeship. So I'm not there yet to give advices, but I can tell from my own experience that they should do the work. There's no stone skipping in surgery. Without putting the work, without putting the hours. In general surgery, you live in the hospital. Uh, from personal experience, it's better to start in an emergency environment. It's better school, than. I feel a little for my residents here at Carol Davila, because they don't see as much as we did we had 100 patients a day. So you learn from them. It's a very good school. It's very tough. I wouldn't do emergency. I wouldn't want it to remain in an emergency hospital for my life. It's very tiresome, and it gets to you, you know. But for the beginning, I think is the best. What else? To to become trustworthy, to take little victories, because it's very tough job, so if you have high goals, it's gonna take a long time to achieve them, so you shouldn't get discouraged. So you should set smaller goals and to take small victories. Oh, today they let me tie a knot.
Yes.
Tomorrow they let me suture the aponeurosis. It's a
Yes.
small victory, so you should
Take it step by step.
take these victories and feed from them, take your energy, and not be discouraged. I don't know, and later on you should find your niche, so
Yeah.
and to become proficient in some area, but this is for later.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening today to our podcast. This was Theodora Bobocea and Nicolae Dragoș Garofil.
Thank you.
Thank you.